the first apple.
What led me to Cheaper by the Dozen? I had just finished Just Married for this studio, 20th Century Fox, and somewhere around the first preview, after they saw Just Married, Hutch Parker, the president of the studio, and Tom Rothman, the chairman, said that they felt they had my next movie. And I read this script, and frankly, it took a little convincing because it's ambitious, and it's big in scope, and it's kind of every director's nightmare to do a movie with this many characters and kids and animals. But they really kind of were vigilant in kind of, you know, conveying the movie they thought this could be, and in assuring me that I'd be allowed to make it exactly the way I wanted. And that's the way it turned out. I had an intuitive connection with this material. I really felt that I understood the two key aspects of Cheaper by the Dozen. One is a story about the balancing act that every parent has to perform. The balancing act between having the career you want and being the kind of parent you want to be. I face it every day in my own life. Most of us who have kids face it every day in our lives. And that's really why I wanted to make the movie. That's kind of reason one. Reason two was I loved the bedlam of growing up in a house with 5 kids. I loved the volume, I loved the chaos, and I loved that it was kind of unruly and messy and not at all picture perfect, but somehow perfect still. So the kind of love letter to chaos that is Cheaper by the Dozen is very much a love letter to my own upbringing.
Did I tell you we're gonna have it all?
You've never said that.
I'm telling you now, baby. Woo!
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Oh, whoa.
I had no interest in simply doing a broad comedy about a big family. I've been offered those movies. I didn't want to do those movies. I love comedy, but in a movie about family, that's not enough because every family experience has two aspects, the comedic and the poignant. And so from the get-go, Steve Martin and I, when we first talked, we really invoked the movie Parenthood as a model, as an excellent example of a film that blended quite seamlessly broad comedy with the, you know, Cowboy Gil and all of that, to real kind of occasionally moving moments of honesty. And I always respected that. I always wanted to do that. It's what I want to do as a director. And so the thing that I am the most proud of in the direction of this movie is the kind of interweaving of comedy and heart.
Hey, Mark.
The Baker clan is a loving, loud, occasionally feisty bunch. So casting this family was a huge challenge. And with my casting director, Nancy Klopper, we set out to build the movie around Steve. That meant, first of all, finding a woman to play Kate Baker who would support Steve's comedy so that he, you know, in his words, so that there was someone on the other side of the net, to go with the tennis metaphor. Bonnie has that in spades. I mean, she's a brilliant comedian, an incredibly sharp wit.
Hey, you were checking me out, weren't you?
No, honey, look behind you. The gardener.
Oh. And cut.
Once we've had our couple, we then set out to cast the kids. And I wanted a mixture of two things. I wanted recognizable, known actors for some of the roles. And for that reason, I went and I got Tom Welling, I got Hilary Duff, I got Piper Perabo. And as for the rest, I really wanted a freshness, which is to say, kids who were not kiddie actors, who had not done 15 movies and were therefore not fluent in the language of kiddie cuteness on screen. They were fresh, real kids, and I cast them in spite of huge inexperience. I cast them because each kid had certain key similarities to the character they played. And so I knew that it would make my job harder, having all these inexperienced actors, but I knew it would make my movie better. Before we ever shot a frame of film, we had rehearsals. And those rehearsals were much less about dialing in the scenes than they were about just getting this group of people to hang together, because there's like an ease of rapport that comes with just hours spent in each other's company. And you had to believe that these people weren't meeting for the first time. So to that end, we spent close to a week, just chatting, hanging out, sharing life stories, life experiences, and the kids and adults got to know each other quite a bit. And one more time. Action, Hillary Duff.
A family is a support system, Butch. Oh, and by the way, could he possibly utter one vanilla phrase without you comparing him to Stalin?
Ring, ring.
Oh, hi, Diane.
Da, da, da.
Sure, you could have 3 or 4 of them if you
Okay.
want.
If there was a watchword every day, it was to keep it fun. Because this movie is nothing if it isn't lighthearted and fun. And so the fact that, frankly, I love directing, that's a fun way to spend my day, to me, that became the kind of mood of the set. Because I don't, some directors maybe can have a certain mood on a set and create a different mood in their movie. I don't know how to do that. I only know how to take the vibe that I have, infect the set with it, and trust that it's going to translate onto celluloid. We'll do one take where she's talking without looking at her. You're just like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, Allison?
I'm so mean to you.
Okay. Maintaining the level of energy and chaos that we needed for some of these scenes, you can't, it's hard. You're in a hot set. The lights are beating down on you. You have 14 actors in a scene. How do you maintain a certain pitch of energy? For me, sometimes it's me going, all right, let's go, here we go, and like just me being cheerleader. Okay, and you just finished grabbing for the frog and you're all screaming? But sometimes my voice has gone raw, or my own energy is sagging, so you play music, whether it's hip-hop or rock or whatever it is. We played a lot of Missy Elliott on this set. We played just everything that worked to keep the vibe going. Directing this cast was hard because when you have a set like we had, there's never a moment of privacy or quiet or intimacy. Because you have to remember, it wasn't just 14 actors and 120 crew members. It was, 48 parents, another 20 siblings of the kids. This place was a mob scene. So if I'm like at the monitor watching the shot, or I'm by the camera watching a scene, I've got literally a cone, like an arena of spectators behind me. A, you get real good at shutting it all out and focusing on what matters. B, I would never give a direction en masse. I would never sit in my chair and go, okay, so Jake, if you could do blah, 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 because that ain't gonna work. First of all, you don't want to embarrass anyone. And also, one person's performance isn't always the business of another person's performance. So in other words, very often what I would do, whether it's with the adults or the kids, I would go onto the set and I would literally one by one take the people aside. And I just kind of quietly whisper my note in each actor's ear, whether it's Bonnie or Steve or the 5-year-olds. And so I did it one-on-one, no matter how crowded it got. There were times when even that would not work the way I wanted, and I would end up shooting certain pieces of coverage and then getting rid of people. So that at the end of the day, for instance, if it's the 5-year-olds, if there's 160 people on set and I have 5-year-old twins, to ask them to be focused, it's unrealistic. I certainly wouldn't have been focused at 5. None of us would have been. So very often with the younger kids who had never done a movie before, I would clear the set and it would just be me and the kids. And we'd just go back and forth and we'd stay there till we got it. And I found that less distraction definitely helped. Some directors love doing a lot of takes. I don't do it. I don't believe in it. I tend to know what I want before I ever roll the camera. And when I get it, I move on. It's that simple. Frankly, it's why Steve Martin and I had such a good working relationship. Steve is a guy who's very prepared, wants his time respected, and once you get it, he wants to move on. And if you're going again, if you're going to do another take, he wants to know exactly why, and you better be able to articulate it concisely and clearly. Yeah, you want to protect it, you maybe want to do a different version, but I don't believe in going on fishing expeditions. And so we moved really quickly, particularly with kids. Kids do not get better on the 25th take. Generally, from the rehearsal on, kids are going downhill. So you got to bottle it and get out of there while it's fresh.
Can I kill Jake now?
No, you finish washing the car first.
Dad, can I get this Band-Aid on me?
Yes, come on.
I'm all over this movie. I mean, my life, my upbringing, my current life, my marriage, my experience with my own kids, it's everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've had to take a work call in a closet in my own house because it's the only place I could hide from my kids and the volume of that. So, I mean, literally, there's a scene where Steve ends up going into the closet and hunkering down in his own closet. That's me. That's because I do that once a week when, like, the studio's calling, but, you know, my 1.5-year-old wants dada, 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 and it's like, whoosh, lock the door, crouch underneath the coats, and hope that I can continue a phone call. You can't do a movie with this many people and this many kids without getting a lot of help. Certainly my AD staff, my assistant directors were enormously helpful. Beyond that, the older actors in the movie were lifesavers. You know, whether it's Steve and Bonnie or Piper, Hillary, and Tom Welling. They were so helpful because I can't handle them all. I mean, like I can't fight off that many at once. So, you know, Piper and Tom and Hillary were fantastic with the younger kids. And very often, without me actually asking, they would take 2 of them, another would take another 2, so I'd have 2 to deal with, and we kind of divide and conquer. Guys,
Blake, you know, why don't you relax and have a cup of coffee?
I want you to remember these positions. When you come back, you're gonna come right to them. I've had the same crew for 3 movies in a row, and it's because making a movie is hard. It's really hard. You have so many people talking at you, wanting things from you. The demands and pressures are big. So for me, if I know that I've got my people in the trench with me, it's a huge boon. I mean, I've had the same production designers, same DPs, same wardrobe. I mean, I really like to keep my team close. And the result of that after 3 movies in 3 years is that you develop a shorthand, you develop genuine affection, and you're able to anticipate each other's needs, which is, you know, kind of like what happens in a family. And the result also is that we have a lot of fun. We know each other, we like each other. There's no learning curve anymore. We're just there to have a good time and get the job done well. I learned a lot about myself making this film. The main thing being I have reservoirs of patience that I never knew about. I don't know how I never cracked on this movie. It was really, really hard. There were times where literally a kid would say, I'm done. And we have 130 people standing around just needing this shot, and you have a 6-year-old saying, no, I'm done. Bye. I want to go play. What are you going to do? And, you know, you'll be boiling inside, but because you have to make your day, you have to make this movie, you don't have the luxury of getting to lose your patience. So I learned that I probably could do a better job in my real life, because when I was on this set, I was able to access deep wells of patience that frankly were unbelievably impressive. And I've lost them now that I'm not shooting a movie anymore, but I know they'd be useful if I could ever find them again. Family films have 2 meanings to me. They're movies that are for families and movies that are about families. And it's an enduring genre because real life rarely affords us the time to take stock and appreciate and reflect on the things that are right in front of us. The thing that is most in front of us is our family. And so the idea that a movie can be a way of processing with gratitude the nature of family, what family gives us, I think that people want that. I think that people need that. And if you can do it in a way that points out the absurdities of family dynamics, the comedy that is to be found in everyday life, just in the way that we relate with our siblings, our parents, our kids, I think that that speaks to people in a really fundamental but deep way. And I think that that's why it's a genre that's not going anywhere.
Just watch him wherever he goes.
I wanted to have a big messy family moment in the beginning of the movie to sort of set off the family chaos idea. My son has had at least 3 frogs, and all of them have died because you know, they got loose. It was definitely about my youngest son and his terrible, tragic frog life.
When you read a scene like the frog egg sequence, first you panic. You read that as a director and you know that it's going to be one of those sequences that will probably last 35 seconds in the movie, but will take you weeks and weeks and weeks of planning and days of shooting. And so I went through my panic, and then I started getting into it, and I realized that my panic was justified.
Guys, I need a quiet! Thank you.
No. It's like chilling on my face.
You were standing with your lacrosse stick, right? So you're there.
Throw some to me.
Guys,
That means quiet.
Blake,
Don't talk.
where did you go to throw the hockey stick? Do it.
Over here.
So this is out of control.
Be quiet.
I did think that they would somehow scale that down. It was a big, lots of stuff happening and people falling all over the place and stuff getting knocked over, but Sean just took that one on and did a great job with it.
This bowl of eggs is going to be spraying, okay? It's not going to hurt, it's just going to be a little gooey. Here's what's going to happen. When we roll, everyone is going to look up at this lamp. And then we're going to roll, and I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, eggs. When I say eggs, you guys are looking at the frog hopping from the lamp down to the eggs. So when I go 3, 2, 1, eggs, we got to practice that because I need to see everyone's look go with that frog that's going to be put in with the computer. So can we just practice that?
Our director, Sean Levy, is extremely well organized, and he has a vision and a concept of exactly what he wants out of this script and what he wants out of the performance of the actors as well as the effects in our case.
So the first thing I did was I broke down the scene into mini sections. Section 1, frog jumps down out of the chandelier, splat go the eggs. Various family members get sprayed with eggs.
Go, Mark. 3, 2, 1, egg.
The joke with Bonnie, by the way, and it's a real quick cut in the movie, is that Mom somehow escapes any eggs. So, like, literally the eggs go in this bizarre kind of like rainbow around her, but she's spotless.
There's not... Save the eggs!
Numb. These are rubber scrambled eggs. We actually made up simulated scrambled eggs out of clay. We poured latex over the top of it, painted it yellow, and got a little bit of tone to it here. Imagine this is in a bowl, a large bowl that is full of real scrambled eggs. This is only protection, so when the eggs go away, you won't see pipes and things. Eggs would come out of these ports, and these are the little tabs right here that we could bend up or down, and that would be the way the eggs would be deflected.
3, 2, 1, egg.
And we get all, and the eggs go on our face and then our clothes. And it's just really gross.
3, 2, 1, egg. Cut again. Didn't go high enough. It's all below frame.
Okay.
Get him!
Oh, God, nobody.
Very little. you stay where you are.
Why don't you just throw some eggs in there?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If I say hand toss right now, can we literally roll?
Yep.
Okay.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1, egg!
Get him!
Cut! So for all the kind of weeks and weeks of high-tech research and development for the egg bazooka, we ended up having like 2 or 3 guys standing right there below the camera with gooey handfuls of eggs, just like pelting the actors one by one. Egg! Egg!
Were there any mishaps? I wouldn't say they were mishaps, but there was a lot more egg flying around the house than I think any of us realized there would be. And because the house was all decorated with pictures and knickknacks and curtains and windows, it was a huge cleanup.
My production designer, Nina Ruscio, created a great environment for that kitchen. In that, the set decoration that her department did really feels detailed and real.
It makes logical sense to build that as a set, but we actually decided to take on a bigger challenge and shoot that in a practical location because we wanted to be able to look out the windows and see this country lifestyle that they had, and the physical characteristics of the space where they were slightly L-shaped. It really did work. It made you felt the camera feeling crowded in the space. You felt that everyone had their special place that they had to sit, and I really do feel that in the end it made the contrast between their two lifestyles even more distinct because that space was so small to shoot in. That was one of the very big challenges, and then the cleanup was a really big challenge.
It got incredibly crowded, incredibly smelly. The smell is what killed you. I mean, by day 2.5, you'd walk in and you could like not escape the stank of scrambled eggs and juice and all kinds of nasty stuff.
I guess after being inundated and dipped in eggs for about 3 days, you know, one would probably wonder, what do you think about eggs? Do you think you'll ever eat an egg again? But I think the next morning we had bacon and eggs or egg burritos, you know, and it was just fine. Everybody, I think, liked eggs better than ever.
I've never been partial to scrambled eggs, particularly wet scrambled eggs. In fact, they've always grossed me out. So what I made sure of was that the scrambled eggs that we used in the movie were really, really gooey and wet, so that it wouldn't be the kind of scrambled eggs that I like, which are a little more browned and a little better prepared, that it would simply turn me off even more to a kind of scrambled egg preparation that already grosses me out.
Inflate the moon bounce. Let's go, Marty. I could have peed.
They never use stuff with the director unless the director's famous. Are you even rolling? How do I tell when you're rolling? Where's the red light? Is it up here? Unlike the frog egg scene, which was scripted from the get-go, pretty much the way you see it in the movie, the moon bounce sequence evolved a great deal before we even started prepping the movie.
I live on the west side of Los Angeles, and I go, not so much anymore, but when my kids were younger, I'd go to these birthday parties that were just completely over the top. Actually, I wrote a column about it, about the over-the-top birthdays that I'd been to, and in one of them I wrote about a moon bounce blowing up. So I thought, oh, why not? I'll just throw that in, and I wanted to see our down-home family, earthy family, go into that setting and wreck it, because I found those birthday parties so abhorrent.
The day we cast Steve Martin, Tom Rothman, the chairman of the studio, called me in and he said, look, you got Steve Martin, okay? People want to see Steve Martin doing physical things. They don't want to just see Steve Martin saying funny things. They want his body doing funny things. So you got to look at this script, he said to Sam Harper and I, the writer, and you got to literally tailor it for Steve, which means involving him wherever possible in the physicality. So decision number 1 was, it ain't kids that go flying in the air. Steve Martin's getting in that moon bounce.
At the very end, you did these like
leg wobbles that are really good. I'd do more of those throughout it. And you get a 2-for-1, right? Because you get the comedy of Steve Martin trying to keep his legs under him in a moon bounce, which is already funny. And then you get Steve Martin in slow motion flying through the air and crushing a child. Also funny.
3, 2, 1, blow. Unblow, that'll open. Everybody will get blown in the air.
This is our shrine to the stunt coordinator, Ernie, who's been doing movies since the dawn of time. And he's here today, but we consult him often if we have problems with a shot or our relationships or anything. We'll consult the shrine here, to get a good answer.
My job as a stunt coordinator to hire the right people to work safety or to help with the harnesses and the wire work, and we work in conjunction with special effects.
Blow! All right, now let's try one with everybody. Let's blow it up and see if we have a winner. We're good for pictures.
Okay, we got a couple other things we got to do first, Ernie. We need to work very closely with the stunt people to make sure that what they need to have is provided and it's done safely. We provide the tower and they jump off of it, and they take most of the risks. When we're working on any of these gags that involve action and actors, typically you will start off with an actor, and then at some point they will replace that actor with a stunt double.
When you use a stunt double, the eye always goes, there's just something about it. They had to cut wide or do some kind of a thing or come around the back.
Steve Martin, he stayed in his character and did almost all of the stunt work himself. The flying, the launching.
How do you feel? I want to go again. Okay.
We blew Steve out of that thing 3 times, I believe, and you yanked him up in the air, and he was go for it type of guy every time.
As we were prepping it, a lot of people said to me, well, so what's the deal? Like, a fork punctures a moon bounce and the moon bounce explodes? It wouldn't really explode, And I kept saying, I don't care, don't talk to me about that. That's real life, I'm making a movie. But what it started was a conversation about how does a moon bounce explode? And my producer, Bob Simons, came up with a key idea, which is rather than just having a regular moon bounce that gets punctured by a fork, have someone knock over something which blocks the outflow of moon bounce air. And now you've got a joke that's been teed up. That's literally been like teed up and you're just swinging. That was a key idea. The whole fork puncturing the moon bounce, we didn't need it. We didn't need it because this wasn't about Dylan Shank throwing a fork. I don't want to imply that this is his fault. I just want Steve in a moon bounce, which explodes and flings him into the air.
We've spent a long time with the special effects department trying to come up with how to make the swollen quality of the moon bounce work on a practical level, because that's not what those moon bounces actually do. So we had to use different materials, stretchy material. We created separate moon bounce elements to express that the thing was about to explode.
The actual floor piece, which was about 10 foot by 10 foot, had underneath it a hemisphere. And that hemisphere was made out of wood, and it was raised with hydraulic rams. The director wanted to see the center part start to rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, and then finally, pop, it goes, and of course everybody's launched.
How do you do bodies flying through the air? How do you do bodies flying through the air? Well, I'll tell you, Jim, even though your name isn't Jim. Cranes and a lot of wire rigs. That's how you do it, which essentially means this. We're in a backyard. The grid hung from the crane in the backyard. So it was a very, very elaborate rig. I think it was like a full day of rigging the crane just so that we could be in a position to shoot. Then what you end up doing is you've got shots looking up at flying people, and you see the grid in the shot. You then edit it the way you want, hand it over to visual effects, CGI guys, and they paint out the existence of the crane and the grid, and that's how we did it.
When Sean Levy, the director, asked me for, say, like the moon bounce sequence, I suggested the balls, the colored balls that are in there, even though a lot of moon bounces don't have that, but It accentuates the explosion of when it blew up.
The plastic balls that we shot up, multicolored balls, are lightweight, real safe. They're the kind that you find in the fast food restaurant playground areas. And the kids just love these. And we started out with 2,000, and I think we ended up with 800. I don't know where the 1,200 went.
Show me! Steven! Come here, baby. All right. We're on the go. Tommy, hurting, not helping. That's per usual.
The movie is about chaos, so there's no way to make it properly without encouraging a little chaos on set, which I rather enjoy anyway. But as you can hear, by the end of the day, my throat is gone, my patience is gone, my nerves are frayed, but we're getting the right stuff, so that's what counts.